in placement year, the average salary in UK is around 20,000 pounds. And I want to let some of the students know कि मैंने देखा है कि in Silicon Valley, some interns get a signing bonus of $10,000 to $15,000. Hey guys, today it's a pleasure to welcome Shiv from University of Leeds, UK, and he will be sharing his experience studying aerospace engineering in UK. So hi Shiv, can you please introduce yourself?
Hello guys, I'm Shivashish and I'm originally from India, Kanpur, Uttar Pradesh, but then I've spent most of my teenage life in Dubai, and finally I moved to the UK in 2018 for my bachelor's in aerospace engineering. So at the moment I've finished 2 years of aerospace engineering, and at the moment currently I'm doing a 12-month internship with Siemens, and I plan to return to university in September of this year for my final year.
Nice. So giving students a little bit of background. So in UK, the engineering degree is of 3 years, and you have an optional placement year, right? So it's like 3+1, and it's shorter than what we have in India and US. Like it's just 3 years and you get your degree. So let's start with the academic background. So you are from CBSE board, right?
Correct.
So can you tell me like what marks you had to submit to University of Leeds to get in?
So for me, the University of Leeds was more or less concerned only with my 12th grade and my 10th grade marks. So my conditional offer was for 90% or above, like overall average of 90% or above, and minimum of 85% in physics and mathematics. So of course I met that with not a lot of problem. And yeah, that was my conditional offer from Leeds. But I think it's more or less same across the other well-known universities in the UK as well. So I applied to 5 universities such as Bath University, Lancaster, Birmingham, Leeds and Bristol, and all of them had more or less similar offer. I think Bath required 85% overall, or Birmingham just required 80% overall. But yeah, I chose to go with Leeds.
And did they put any stress on extracurricular activities or any other achievements or any of the grades you had to submit?
So I did submit my SAT subject tests, which I wrote because when I was in Dubai, I also had this thing within me that I may actually plan to go to India for my bachelor's in NIT, and there is this quick way of going to NIT from Dubai using that DASA quota or something where you can write SAT subject tests. So I did because I wrote that. I also submitted those grades in my application. But in terms of extracurricular, they did say that you should include all of that in your statement of purpose, etc., but they did not necessarily stress on it a lot. And I don't think that is I think in UK universities they focus a bit more on academics, and I personally did not have a lot of extracurricular, to be honest, before joining universities. And in terms of the only experience I had from school was I used to play the guitar, and then I just attend some workshops and events. But and badminton, that was it.
I completely understand. जो भी students they are preparing for IIT JEE या फिर NEET वगैरह, उनके पास वैसे भी extracurriculars नहीं होते. So Canada, UK becomes an easy option in that case.
Correct.
Yeah. And other than that, you didn't even have to take IELTS or TOEFL? Being from Dubai?
Sorry, I did have to take IELTS, and I think it was minimum you require 7 point or something. But I mean, I don't think that's a massive challenge. If you're I think that's a basic thing you require to study in an abroad university.
Yeah. Okay, sure. So let's move on with your university. So why did you choose University of Leeds? अगर आप students को बताओगे कि why to study in University of Leeds as compared to other universities like Cambridge, Oxford, Imperial, then what would you say?
So in terms of why Leeds, so I absolutely love Leeds University. It's phenomenal. And in terms of first, I'll compare it with the 3 universities which you mentioned, and then I'll compare with the rest. So in terms of Oxford University, Oxford is very well known, but I'm not sure if it is super known for engineering. I think at least that's what I've heard. And in terms of Cambridge, I think it's just too competitive. First thing. The second thing is I did not apply to Cambridge because I missed the deadline. I chose to I decided that I'll be going to the UK quite late, and until that point Cambridge and Oxford were gone, right? So I think Cambridge and Oxford are the only 2 universities which have got a much earlier deadline for applications compared to all the other UK universities. When we speak about Imperial is phenomenal for engineering, and it's quite a well-known university throughout the world. But the problem is Imperial is located in London, and when you talk about the expenses in London, it just goes a lot. Like it just keeps going high. Just to give you a number on that, like all the UK universities around that time in 2018, the bachelor's fee was £21,000 per annum per average. But when you talk about Imperial, that was like £33,000 per annum. So there's a £10,000 straight away in the fees itself. And then when you go living in London, accommodation and all of that is also much more higher.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the reason I chose Leeds over Imperial, Cambridge and Oxford.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk about the other good universities like Bath, Leeds, Bristol, and I'm Southampton, and all these universities I'm speaking about is just for like engineering courses. I'm not talking about are they good in history or not. I don't know about that. Out of those things, I chose Leeds because, well, firstly, Leeds was quite good in world ranking, so I think it's around 90. Whereas let's say the next best Bath was 150. And when you also talk about Leeds, I think like the UK universities ranking, there's like a world ranking, and then you go to the UK university rankings. In that as well, Leeds was quite good. And finally, the course structure in Leeds was quite appealing to me because the course structure really varies in different universities in terms of how they progress with first year, second year, and third year. So if you talk about Lancaster, for example, I think Lancaster had the first year common for all the engineering degrees. So even if you chose to study mechanical, you'll be sitting with a chemical or nuclear engineering student, right? Whereas in Leeds, Leeds was quite good in the sense that for the first 2 years, I'd be sitting with mechanical, automotive, aerospace, and medical engineering. So it wasn't common to all the engineering degrees, but like these four, mechanical, aerospace, automotive, and medical engineering, they shared the first 2 years as the same. So you had the flexibility to specialize in any of them after your second year. So that was quite appealing. And so Lancaster on the one end is like very generic in the first year and then super specialized in second year. Leeds on the other hand was specialized in the first 2 years in a way, but then third year becomes super specialist. But if you go to other universities such as Bristol, they are like super specialist from the first year itself. That if you choose to do aerospace, your first year is aerospace only. Yeah.
So in simple words, you're trying to say कि Leeds में आपको more diverse group के साथ बैठने को मिलता है, like different like chemical engineer, biomedical and all that. And number two, मैंने अभी observe किया, you said कि there's a super specialization and all that, but in US आप जो courses लेना चाहो आप कभी भी ले सकते हो, first, second, third year, it doesn't matter, as long as you meet the prerequisites, you get more freedom. So right, so आपको मतलब strict batch के साथ बैठना पड़ता है, it's like assigned to you.
Yes, so in terms of Leeds, I don't sit with chemical engineering students, but in Leeds it's like the 4 degrees, which is aerospace, automotive, mechanical, and like medical engineering. These 4 engineering degrees share the first 2 years as common.
Oh, it's not like a batch together. It's like
Correct.
they have a common classes
Correct.
or something,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah, so it is specialized in a way. In terms of the flexibility I have, I do not have a single optional module throughout my degree in 3 years. So I cannot choose if I want to choose something else, right? It is all defined that, okay, these are 120 credits, these are the modules you're going to take. For other degrees, such as mechanical, they have got 1 or 2 options in their third year. But all this, what I'm speaking is for Leeds. I think other universities may have 1 or 2 optional modules throughout their degree, but it is not very common for my course in my university.
Now let's move on with the affordability part of studying in UK. जैसे आपने बताया कि you're paying only like £20,000 per year. Is that including housing?
No, that is not including housing.
But
that is just the tuition fees, £20,000.
But you were able to cover with your part-time salary or something, right?
So I did not do a part-time job in my first and second year. I was just focusing on academics and my projects, etc. I did do a summer internship both after my first year and my second year, but that was just during the summer. So yeah, like I was paying £20,000, £21,000 per annum for the tuition fees. Housing,
you said, is affordable, right? How much is the estimate?
So housing, if you're living in a good house, university accommodation or something, it'll cost you around £5,000 per annum on an average. And this is for a good accommodation near the university. If you go for a bit lower end in the sense that you go for private housing and like you choose to search for yourself, then it maybe can come around £4,500 per annum. And all this is including bills, electricity, and Wi-Fi.
Okay, that is interesting. It is definitely affordable if you compare it with undergrad in US. That's for sure. And आपको 3 साल करना होता है, right? So that is a
Correct.
plus point too. Now let's talk about your placement year. जैसे कि आपने बताया कि in placement year the average salary in UK is around £20,000. And I want to let some of the students know कि मैंने देखा है कि in Silicon Valley some interns or some full-time employees get a signing bonus of $10,000 to $15,000. कुछ interns को भी मिल रहा है, कुछ full time employees को भी मिल रहा है. So like you cannot compare your salary directly, but I want to compare based on the standard of living. आपने बताया जैसे placement year में £20,000 होता है, या full time salary कितना होता है?
So for placement here, on an average, you're looking at 17 to 18,000 pounds per year. That is, in terms of your graduate salary. So again, placement year is something you do as an internship for 12 months between your between your second and third year of your degree. When you talk about graduate salaries, you're looking at 27 to 30,000 pounds per annum. So yeah, again, when you compare it with US, it is rather low. But I think this is the case in the UK, and I'm speaking about engineering graduates and internships. And I think other courses have similar fees, if not lower, because I mean STEM is generally higher paid.
Yeah, that makes sense. But do you think you can have a good standard of living with that amount, right? क्योंकि आप amount compare नहीं कर सकते, right? So that's why US, you cannot compare every dollar or every pound every single time. So like you can basically afford car, housing, and good standard of living with that, right?
Yes, I do believe so. And I think, I mean, I do see that like in US you can earn so much more, and you'll have to spend more. That's obvious, but still I think the amount of saving you'll have in the US is comparatively higher than in the UK. However, the standard of living in the UK is rather, like, I personally like it a lot. Like, for example, healthcare is absolutely free. I don't spend any money on healthcare. And similarly, I mean, the atmosphere is quite nice, and it's a safe environment, There's not a lot of gunshots happening.
That's for sure. That's acceptable. You hear that all the time in the US. Yeah. So can you please speak about your internship or the placement year? So what are you doing right now, and how does it work in UK?
Right. So in UK, in bachelor's degree, which is generally for 3 years, you have the option to do a year-long internship. You can call it year-long internship, you can call it 12-month internship, you can call it industrial placement, or whatever you like. Now, for a 3-year degree, if you do that 12-month internship, your degree essentially becomes of 4 years. But the benefit of that is you could do it in between of your studies. So for example, my course at Leeds originally was 3 years, which is Bachelor's of Engineering, called BEng. Now, I chose to do this placement here between my second and third year. So I mean, I need to be at least in second year to be able to apply. So that's the minimum requirement.
Okay.
So in my second year, I started applying for these placements, and then thankfully I found a job. And then now I'm currently working on that 12-month internship. This is essentially like a full-time job. You work 40 hours a week, 38 to 40 hours a week. You are treated as a normal employee, just like other employees in the company. And I think it's a superb experience, because the key benefit over here for international students is that the visa is actually sponsored by the university, because you're doing this as a part of your course, right? And then employers are more than happy to hire international students. Of course, there are limitations here and there, but it's not too difficult. Yeah.
That is really cool. So like based on what you choose, agar aap integrated program karoge, like undergrad plus masters, or you call BEng, Bachelor's of Engineering plus Master of Engineering, then you have different requirements. You can do after third year as well, fourth year as well. But since you're doing 3-year undergrad, you can do after 2 years and do a placement year, and then come back to campus and finish the third year, and then graduate. So basically you're graduating in 4 years. So that's a big advantage you get in UK, जो सबको पता है आप 3 साल में खत्म कर सकते हो. And other than that, like आपको लगता है कि placement year is a must, और आप 3 साल के बाद अगर आप full time job करो, that gives you more advantage, because आप 3 साल के बाद job करो, you'll get 30,000 pounds. Like the average salary is more. But if you do a placement year, the salaries are lower. So what do you think is preferable for students?
So I personally definitely would prefer to do a placement here, especially for an international student, because it adds so much value to you as an individual and as an engineer. Because like what I'm working right now is like, of course, I cannot just apply what I've learned from university, but I'm gaining so many more skills, learning how to work at an organization, learning the software skills like programming languages and things. And when you return back to university, it also like you are now a different individual altogether because you've worked in the industry for 1 year. You know how things are in industry. And also when you graduate, now, if you're an international student, sometimes it can be challenging to find a sponsor or something like that. But now, if you have that much of experience on your back, then you can say that, why am I actually unique? Because I've got this experience, I've worked in industry, I've worked for 1 year, I've done some summer internships. So, it gives you an edge when applying for graduate jobs. And yeah, I mean, it is comparatively lower paid, but I think it's fine because I'm in it for the experience more than the money, because I want to grow as an engineer. I want to develop those technical skills and expertise. And yeah, I think I'm doing that just fine. Yeah.
Yep. Your passion for engineering is commendable. Oh no, awesome.
Oh yeah. Also, just to add on to that, like there are like all sorts of companies which offer placement years, right? So most of the engineering firms in UK actually offer these placement years. If you're looking at automotive companies, Jaguar, Land Rovers, all the Formula One teams like Mercedes-Benz, you've got AlphaTauri, Red Bull Racing, all of these companies offer placement here. So it's really good, and it can become competitive, but it's really nice. At the same time, if you look at the aerospace sector, you've got these big companies such as Airbus and Rolls-Royce offering these year-long internships. And yeah, I think it can be very, very invaluable experience. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So for aerospace engineering, I have a special question. Because अगर आप UK में पढ़ते हो, you have to be clear that you really want to choose aerospace engineering. So how you got an idea that my real passion is actually aerospace as compared to any other major? Like were you very certain beforehand in 12th grade? Like CBSE board में कैसे पता चलता है? Time ही नहीं मिलता इतना.
Yeah, so that's the interesting question, and I really like that question as well. Before coming to UK, I did not have a particular interest in aerospace engineering. Now, things turned out to be well for me because I chose Leeds University, which has got first 2 years common for both mechanical and aerospace. So I had that flexibility. If I wanted to, I can specialize in aerospace after my second year. So originally, when coming to the UK, I just chose mechanical because mechanical is the broadest sort of engineering, and you can work in every sort of industry you can imagine. But once I came here, I think this is where UK really stands out, is because the amount of lectures, the kind of content you're learning at university is so interesting. Your lecturers are so much like enthusiastic about the content they're teaching. They have got this industrial experience to back that up. And yeah, like I just found this really, really cool lecturer in fluid mechanics, which was kind of the triggering spark for me that I want to go in aerospace engineering. And then I got into the science like aerodynamics and rockets and propulsion. And I was like, oh my God, this is what I want to do for a living. This is absolutely amazing. And yeah, like even the projects we do at like universities are really, really cool. So it's like, for example, in my second year, I had this project to build an automated Mars rover, which will like essentially this big, and it has to travel a bumpy and rough terrain automatically, and it has to find its way and go over bumps and things and stop on its own. We had to do some drop tests, and yeah, the projects have been absolutely amazing, and that's where you really learn a lot about engineering as well, because it is not just the theory side of things, but it's projects, and these projects is what make you a bit more enthusiastic about engineering.
Let's talk about visa. So I heard that there was a news that they are increasing the work permit to 2 years, so international students have like 2 years to find a job. So can you please elaborate on that?
Yes, correct. So earlier, how it used to be was for international students, it'll become quite competitive and difficult to find the graduate jobs. And by earlier, I mean, let's say prior to 2020, because as soon as they graduate, they'll just have 3 months in the UK to live or to find the job. And then after that, they'll unfortunately have to return to their home country. So I think this new rule is started for like graduates from 2021 or 2020. It's a very recent rule that once you finish your studies, you'll have 2 extra years given to you by the university or like you're given to you by the government, where you can actually find a job or also work. So I think that makes it really easy in terms of both finding and working as well. Because the thing is that it's not that companies do not want to hire international students. The only challenge is that sponsoring a visa takes a lot of money for the company, and it's a long process for the company as well. So when you talk about medium-sized companies, they're not always willing to go the extra mile for you as an international student, whereas they can get a similar skilled candidate from the UK itself, So there is a trade-off in there. But now if you have that 2-year visa, and like most of the graduate jobs, like when you look at the graduate positions, they generally last for 18 months or like 2 years. So I think you have that visa where you can actually finish your graduate job as well. So I think it'll become more likely for an international student to find a job. But still, I think it will remain challenging because many companies, they want to hire people who they know that they can continue with after that 2-year graduate period as well. So yeah, it's a trade-off in terms of like which companies you're looking at. So when you talk about big companies, you've got Rolls-Royce, Airbus, and all these big companies, they do not really care a lot about where you're coming from or you're like which country you are from. They have this big company, they've got all this setup, they've got different teams for different for managing different things. So I think it can become a bit of a possibility for them to sponsor you. But when you talk about medium-sized companies, it can become a bit challenging. And I think that's also the same place where placement year stands out, because for placement years, all the companies would be willing to hire because they don't have to care about your visa. It's given to you by the university.
Yeah, because if you have done a placement year, you are a trained employee. So like when companies think about sponsoring, it is a bit easier because they think, oh, I'm hiring a trained employee, so I don't have to invest a lot of time and money to after you hire. Yeah. That makes sense.
And also, there's also this very common trend between like in some companies that, for example, if you have done a 12-month internship with a particular company, if you have done a good job there, they can actually offer you the graduate job as well as soon as you finish the internship. So even before going to your final year at university, you may already land up with a graduate job secured, and that is just great,
Yes. Yeah. Or in India we call it PPO, right? Replacement offer.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Awesome. So now next question will be, if a student wants to do masters in aerospace engineering, like what are the tips you will give? What universities, what options they have, and is it recommended?
Yes, so I'd highly recommend studying in the UK, not necessarily because of the job market or the salary you get. Job market is quite nice. I wouldn't say that it's not nice because you've got all these aerospace companies and manufacturers here. But of course, in terms of the money you get is comparatively less than the UK. But that is true for all engineering courses in the UK as well. So it's not that aerospace is earning any less than a mechanical engineer. In terms of universities, well, firstly, I think UK has got really, really good university for aerospace degrees. You've got this Imperial College London, in London, of course. They've got a really good course in aerospace engineering, but of course it is much more expensive. I think the master's fee at this moment as we speak is around 33 or 34,000 pounds per annum. So it is quite expensive. But then you've also got other universities such as Leeds. Leeds is quite nice for aerospace masters. You've also got University of Bristol, which is very well known for aerospace. And also in Bristol, you've got many aerospace companies as well. So it's like universities' collaboration with those companies is a lot more than any other universities. And then there is also this really good university I love is Cranfield. So Cranfield is a fairly less known university, I personally feel, because it does not actually offer any bachelor courses, but I think it's a superb university and it's like MIT of the UK, and definitely I personally feel that it is better than Imperial or Cambridge or Oxford for aerospace masters. It's really because like Cranfield started as an aerospace university. Like they've got 24 different courses just for aerospace. So, like when we talk about universities in general, like for example, if I was to apply to Cornell University in the US, I'd have one or two options for aerospace that, okay, this is the aerospace engineering degree I can apply to. In Cranfield, you've got 24 different aerospace degrees you can apply to. It's like one module has been converted into a degree itself. So it is super specialist. But I think it's really nice because they've got really good industrial links, and they've got an airport of their own as well, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah. And Cranfield is also very good for motorsport engineering. by the way, if you didn't know, like motorsport and Formula One is also like a big thing in the UK. Like people are much interested in working in motorsport industry. So that's also a big thing here. Yeah.
Awesome. Wow. So I can conclude now, right?
Yes, all good.
Yeah. Awesome. That's very helpful, Shiv. So thank you so much, Shiv, for your incredible knowledge. It was lovely talking to you today. So, and if you have any questions, you can definitely reach out to Shiv as well. I'll leave your LinkedIn or Instagram
Yes.
if you approve.
I don't use Instagram, but yeah, LinkedIn. Happy for
awesome.
LinkedIn.
Sounds good. Yeah. So thank you so much, everyone. We will see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Right. Bye.
Uh-huh.